Welcome back, everyone! In today's video, I'll be ranking every preserved American aircraft carrier, and which of those? There's only 5. The rankings will be from my least favorite to my favorite, with a ranking out of 10 in the first sentence. These are just my opinions. I may do another video that's much more in depth, with longer explanations, and that may change the list as I'll have service history going into it as well. And it'll be more than just ones I like, it'll be a true ranking. Now, with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Coming in at number 5, with a ranking of 6 out of 10, is the 4th USS Intrepid, and the only carrier to carry the name. The SX-class USS Intrepid CV11 is okay, I'm fine with her. It's nice that we have 5 American carriers preserved, but I don't know. I like her, but really there aren't too many reasons. She helps teach the people who visit her, however. She is often the most forgotten of the 5 preserved carriers by far. I mean, I like her. I always liked the USS Intrepid CV11, and I always will, but if she wasn't preserved, it wouldn't be a big deal to me, and she would just remain forgotten. It would truly be sad, but I mean, I'd much rather, for example, the Enterprise have been saved than her, and I'm sure people agree with me on that. Coming in at number 4, and hopefully less controversial of one, with a ranking of 7 out of 10, is the 7th ship to bear the name. Although Ship 5 was a battlecruiser and later converted into 6th ship, into ship number 6 to carry the name, so the current one was 6th or 7th, depending on how you classify that. This is how most people classify it, though, from what I understand. She was named in honor of the first carrier, Lexington CV12, which was sunk during the Battle of the Coral Sea. The Essex-class USS Lexington, Intrepid was also an Essex-class. The USS Lexington CV16 carries the legacy of the previous 6 fallen Lexingtons. She is also the last United States Navy ship to bear the name Lexington, and hopefully there will be another USS Lexington in the future. I like her for what she did, but mostly the legacy that she carries on to this very day. Despite the fact that she carries the highest hull number of the 4 surviving Essexes, she was actually commissioned before the other 3, so she's actually the oldest surviving fleet carrier. I like her today for the lessons she teaches with the museum as well. I like the USS Lexington CV16, and I always will. Coming in at number 3, with a ranking of 8 out of 10, is the 2nd carrier named USS Hornet. This one is the Essex-class USS Hornet CV12, named in honor after the 7th ship and the first carrier USS Hornet CV8, which was lost earlier during World War II at the Battle of the Santa Cruz Islands. Hornet carries the legacy of the 7 fallen Hornets that preceded her. She's also the last United States Navy ship to bear the name Hornet. Hopefully, just like Lexington, there'll be another USS Hornet in the future. I love the Hornet and her history. She carries the name with pride and was a force to be reckoned with and still is to this day. And nobody wanted to be on the receiving end of her planes. You saw planes coming, you might as well say goodbye. She, along with the number 1 and 2 on this list, need longer explanations. That's going to be another video for another day. There are a million reasons why I love the USS Hornet CV12, and I wish I was exaggerating. And she deserves the number 3 spot on this list, although she would be lower if I counted non-preserved carriers. Coming in the number 2 spot with a ranking of 8 out of 10 as well, is another Essex class, the last on the list. Yet 4 out of the 5 preserved are Essexes. This one is USS Yorktown CV10, named after the Battle of Yorktown, but many, like myself, like to say she's named after the first USS Yorktown, which was almost unsinkable. Which was lost at the Battle of Midway, but only after being scuttled after a Japanese submarine was spotted. Otherwise, she probably would have returned to service. I love how versatile the Essex class were, and Yorktown is by far my favorite of any Essex class carrier. The previous USS Yorktown CV5 was an absolute beast, and this Yorktown carries her name and her legacy with pride, and was great in her own right. I am fascinated by the history of the first Yorktown, and it carried to the second as well. She definitely deserves a number 2 spot on this list, and she would still be very high up in a non-preserved carrier list, although the first USS Yorktown would definitely be above her. Coming in at the number 1 spot with a ranking of 9 out of 10. Yet you're not getting 10 out of 10 unless you're like the first Hornet, or the first Yorktown, or a Canadian carrier. The lead ship of the Midway class was supposed to replace the Essex class, although they didn't. Well, I say replace, the Navy wasn't going to replace them, that's just, they're the next class and listed the ones that preceded it. It's complicated for me to explain, I don't know how to explain it. And then, of course, is the first USS Midway, CV41. The first of the supercarriers, she missed World War II by only a couple of weeks. Named after the Battle of Midway, she was a beauty, my favorite American carrier, and one of my favorite carriers of all time. She wears her name with pride, and she educates so many, and is the flagship of the American Carrier Museum ships. It's actually surprising that in other lists, I have ships above her, but in this preserved carrier only field, she definitely deserves and does get the number 1 spot, and the title as my favorite preserved American carrier, and my favorite American carrier of all time. And thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you in the next one.